We're going to move on to our next presenting company. I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Michael West, CEO of BioTime, which is a company focused on developing therapies for oncology, AMD, and spinal cord injury.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll be making some forward-looking statements like some of the previous speakers, so I would encourage any of you with interest in the company to look at our filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission for more detailed information about the company. So what is BioTime? Have any of you heard of us? Well, BioTime is, I would argue, somewhat forcefully, the technological leader in the space of pluripotency. So some of you may know the advent of pluripotent stem cells is what caused the term regenerative medicine to come about. It began in just at the turn of the last century. I initiated those programs previously at a company called Geron, and the previous management of the stem cell programs at Geron are now part of the BioTime family of companies, which I'll be telling you about. As a result of this, BioTime represents a patent estate, IP estate, I think, without any comparison in the industry. We have over 600 patents and patent applications in this space of pluripotent stem cells. My challenge today in 12 minutes is to try to explain to you why that's important. One of the points I wanted to make right up front is we position BioTime and its family of companies with some near-term value drivers, which I think is really key to understand what we're doing in our company, and now describe some of these disease-focused subsidiaries. I've got to start with this point, though. I've been listening patiently to a lot of these speakers, and I'm sure many of you are confused, or the people who are listening to this talk, confused about all of the claims about stem cells out there. It really falls down to this simple comparison that I'm showing you here. I know these are trees, but that's why we call them stem cells. Stem cells are cells that can morph into different types of cells. The cells that I'm talking about, pluripotent stem cells, in their first incarnation there were embryonic stem cells, and now there's these new types of cells called IPS cells, or induced pluripotent stem cells. These are all powerful cells that can branch out into, for the first time in the history of medicine, I've got to point that out, into all the cell types of the human body. There are adult stem cells, and these are cells that exist in you or me, and they can branch out into a few things. And so in the scientific world, we call those multipotent or unipotent stem cells. So there's a big difference. A stem cell is not a stem cell. Now let me shift gears. One of the important concepts here that I'm going to be talking to you today about pluripotent stem cells, the concept of regenerative medicine is these cells generate a human body, of course, in normal development, that we can tap that biology to regenerate tissue function specifically in these huge unmet markets of age-related degenerative disease. As you know, the leading complaint of an aging population, the largest demographic of our time, the largest complaint is the pain of arthritis. Can we regenerate that cartilage or the heart muscle? Not just have an ameliorative effect or a palliative effect. All of that requires the stable engraftment of cells. Okay? So you need a matrix. You need to have something the cells can reside in, both to increase the viability of the graft, because if you just inject cells in saline, most die. You don't want to have the cells wandering into the wrong place. If you inject them in the heart, you don't want them traveling around in the bloodstream. A major concern, by the way, of the FDA. And you want to be able to recreate a three-dimensional construct for many applications. So this requires a novel matrix. There is no FDA-approved matrix for the transplantation of cells into the human body in the United States, believe it or not. We plan to make the first such matrix. We call it HiStem. We've got a great patent estate on this, some 15 years or so remaining of patent life. What's so remarkable about this? It's like epoxy glue. You mix the components, and then after a period of time, some minutes later, it gels up into a three-dimensional matrix in the presence of cells, and the cells and the matrix can be injected safely into the human body to make a matrix and the cells and a stable engraftment of cells. It can be also formulated as other things, films and lattices and so on. This is a really powerful technology. There is no such technology out there with collagen and hyaluronic acid, the major components of these matrices. So what we're doing is we're developing them both as research tools. My first little arrow here, we have a number of university collaborations, many of which are anticipating academic IND filings with our product. We have our own in-house R&D, which I'll talk about very briefly, and then 3 products under development. Let's look at the bottom one first, Renevia. Renevia is our flagship product here. We're using patient-specific adipocyte stromal fraction cells and simply moving it around the body for cosmetic effect, specifically targeting HIV lipoatrophy, and we're doing our pivotal study this year. So we've completed our safety study. It was well tolerated, no serious adverse events in any of the patients with a subcutaneous administration of Renevia. And so now we're going into our pivotal study, and that CE mark, we believe, will allow us to sell this product for the transplantation of cells in many countries outside of the United States. In the United States, we're developing the product under 510K filings with Premvia and Reglide. Similar products, Premvia being a collagen hyaluronic acid polymer, Reglide being only hyaluronic acid, cross-linked with our proprietary technology for tendon repair, Premvia for wound management. Why are we doing this? To get it into the market in the US for a wide array of applications. All 3 of these, we have plans for subsequent product development using our stem cells. So let's go back to the stem cells. What's so unique about pluripotent stem cells, and really unique here? 2 things. I mentioned pluripotency. These cells really do branch off into all the cell types of the human body, giving us this advantage of picking the best markets, the most ideal product for development. Secondly, and equally important, and over the long term, increasingly be recognized as the opportunity with pluripotent stem cells that simply doesn't exist with adult stem cells. These cells, while in this undifferentiated state, will replicate indefinitely. There's no adult stem cell that will do that. So that allows you to make master cell banks of these pluripotent stem cells and make every cell type of the human body on an industrial scale indefinitely. That's a problem, of course, with sourcing cells from adult tissues, is your continual lot-to-lot variation and validating those product lots. As an example of this, here are, let me back up and show you this first. What we do at BioTime is we take the pluripotent stem cells. In the top diagram, you see how historically people have manufactured product from pluripotent stem cells. They send them differentiation signals and say, go become heart muscle or go become neurons for Parkinson's disease and so on. This is problematic as a manufacturing modality. As part of the reason previous efforts to manufacture therapeutics bogged down here, in that there is such enormous complexity of cell types that emerge out of pluripotent stem cells. Hold on to your hats. There are over 1,000 different cell types that come out of these cells. And so making a purified and identified product that will meet the criteria the FDA would allow for licensure of product is problematic. Possible, but challenging. We've simplified that dramatically. A proprietary technology developed by BioTime scientists is shown at the bottom. We call it PureStem. Simply put, we take one cell that's on its way to becoming heart muscle or kidney or something valuable in medicine, and expand that from a single cell. So they're clonal embryonic progenitors, entirely new compositions, entirely new manufacturing strategies. We put those cells through all of the discovery you need to understand what they are, how we can file patents on them, how they can be scaled up, and how they can be used in medicine, largely with help from the state of California. Many of you may know they've been funding a $3 billion program to advance this technology in California, where we're located. And this is just one example. We discovered that amongst these lines, cells that can make cartilage and bone. Here's an example. This is the first time science has ever made the articular cartilage from the mandible, the toughest cartilage in the body, and we can make this scalably. And I just wanted to show you as an example. This is rather remarkable. We start with one cell on its way to becoming this cartilage of the jaw. And as we expand them, we can find that these cells can make over 100, look at passage 28 there, 100 million doses of 100 million cells, and the cells still have the potency that they do in early passage and have normal normal genotype. So this is robust manufacturing of product from pluripotent stem cells, cells that have precise identity, we think 100% purity, scalability. This is what you want to make product. And we own it. We have the patents on what I just described. So what we've done is we believe this is a platform that's going to really address for the first time the degenerative diseases of aging in the aging U.S. population and worldwide. And you know, since these are pluripotent stem cells, these are not just, you know, a bone stem cell or a skin stem cell. We believe that these are going to be independent business units. If so, let's split them up early. Why? Because we can attract independent management for each of these disease-focused subsidiaries and independent funding that has relatively low effect on dilution to BioTime shareholders, and so that's how we're proceeding. And I'll walk you quickly through what some of the products in these subsidiaries look like. Orthocyte is developing novel cells for the treatment of orthopedic diseases. We have over 30 different types of progenitors to cartilage and bone throughout the body. Oprogen is a product developed by CellCure in Israel, a subsidiary of ours. Age-related macular degeneration, as you know, is a big market, and we are developing RPE cells to replace the injection of anti-angiogenesis drugs. We're partnered with Teva Pharmaceuticals for that product. Oligodendrocyte progenitor cells are the first ever cells made from pluripotent stem cells in humans. We've acquired that from my old company, Geron. Tom Okarma, the ex-CEO of Geron, is running Asterias now with the senior management team that used to be at Geron. We picked up this product, and believe it or not, the telomerase vaccine. Many of you have heard of telomerase, this nearly universal marker of malignancy. We have all the rights now to develop the vaccine for telomerase-positive tumor cells. Over 95% of cancers are abnormally telomerase positive, and we're really excited about this product. We sell products, as I mentioned, for near-term product development. I'll quickly just walk through that. Our research product division is ESL International. We acquired the Singapore effort in pluripotent stem cells, ESL International. We're developing our research products through there. We're partnering these through the state of California in collaboration with the state. So if the state in its $3 billion funding generates therapeutics using our master cell banks, that we'll get a royalty to those products. We're developing a cancer diagnostic through Oncocyte, our subsidiary. We're doing 3 different human clinical trials currently for those diagnostics in lung, bladder, and breast cancer. LifeMap Sciences is an online database with over 2 million users. And this is, again, a subsidiary of ours, and we're currently monetizing that asset. It's currently marketed largely to academic and biotech pharma companies, but we're broadening that out now to the growing consumer interest in genomics. So our therapeutic pipeline starts with the high-stem hydrogels, which we believe are foundational for regenerative cell therapies. We have 3 products that are cell therapy related: Oprogen, the OPC1, which is the oligodendrocytes for spinal cord injury, and VAC1 and 2, which is the telomerase vaccine and the cancer diagnostics. We have about $48 million available through cash and publicly registered shares, which we have an ATM in place. We have no debt. We have long-term investors that own about 40% of the company. We're not a venture-backed company. A market cap currently around $200 million. So in this field of pluripotency, we're well positioned. We are the founders of the industry, and we have accumulated the leading IP estate in this area, and we're aggressively pursuing our products. Renevia, our pivotal trials this year. We're filing our IND for Oprogen for macular degeneration this year. We're doing this Asterias distribution. It will be publicly traded through a distribution to Geron shareholders this year. We'll be announcing, once it's publicly traded, our progress with OPC1 and our telomerase vaccine. We're doing our clinical trials now on the diagnostics. You'll be hearing more about corporate partnering and collaborations, and you'll be watching increased revenue from all of our near-term product development. So thank you very much. I'd be happy to take questions in the other room.